Hey everyone, welcome to Pure Hustle Podcast. My name is Mike and I'm here with my friend who is our veteran reseller.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. We're at episode number 3 of our Pure Hustle Podcast.
Number 3. Now, you see, last episode I thought we were doing it because we had 2 in, but now we're 3 episodes in.
Yeah, it's thank you all for listening. And if you haven't had a chance to listen to our first 2, make sure to go back. The first one is all about why reselling and just kind of how we arrived to reselling. And episode 2 talks about why eBay is a platform that gets started. So on this one, we want to talk a little bit about research. You think that's a good topic?
Research is probably, if you're just starting out, it's the most important topic for you. It's the thing that's going to keep you from losing money and going to make sure that you are making money.
Okay, that's good. And we always want to make sure, like, we are saying, hey, you can definitely make money, but it's not a guarantee. But the chips, are definitely stacked in your favor, right? In the sense that if you do your research, you're gonna make money.
Yeah, and I think maybe I'm a little more aggressive than you on this, which is funny because I'm kind of the timid one that's just getting started. I do think you will make money. Now, are you going to be able to quit your job and make $1 million this month? No, that's not going to happen.
I really don't know a lot of eBay resellers or any resellers really that make $1 million pure profit.
Yeah, no.
Unless you scale up and you have multiple employees, but that's for another show.
Yeah. So I'm not thinking, but I think to say, like when you mentioned, like, it's not a guarantee you'll make money. Now, it's not a guarantee you'll make money on each item. But you're going to make money, I think, 95% of the time if you're doing your research.
If you do the right research, if you stay relevant, I think it's definitely doable.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Talk to me about, let's start with a story real quick. Tell me about how research played a part, aside from the duck decoy from episode 1, aside from the Irish houses, and then the skin caliber. Is there any other items you would say in your short time that you've been able to research and find that you can make money on items?
There's quite a few, and I know you told me not to talk about the duck decoy, but I am going to for a second because this is the item I spent.
This is going to be a meme. You understand that, right?
It's going to be the duck decoy. Yeah, I think that's good. We should make the meme, or one of you guys should make the meme. Yeah, do it. Make the meme and send it to us at #PureHustleCast for Twitter or on our Instagram. That would be great.
That was not planned, by the way.
None of this. Are you planning any of this? Because I'm not planning any of this. So.
We're trying to keep it organic. All right, go ahead.
We got to be real, right?
Yep.
Be real and relevant.
And reselling.
Okay,
that was not organic.
And today we're going to be talking about be researching too. So we're going to throw that in there just for today.
Fourth R.
Just for today. Be researching.
So you could be right.
Yeah. Be right.
Okay. We got to move on. We got to move on. All right. Okay. So give me a story.
Okay. So going back to the duck decoy, there was literally like nothing on it besides like an initial that I couldn't really read, and like I spent probably a good 30 minutes like looking up online trying to find this like initial, and finally I found the actual website of the person who handcrafts these and sells them. So I was able to actually find the exact model number of the duck. And all of the details about it to post up, which is what allowed me to make such a big profit on this item.
Tell me again, what was the profit? You spent $4?
I spent $2 to buy it.
$2, okay.
And I think the total was like $45.
And you charge shipping, right?
Yep.
So at least a clean, like, let's say $37.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay, that's good. And so how much time do you say your researching took?
I probably spent 20 minutes. That's probably about right.
Okay. And would you say it was worth your time? I mean, you made $37 in 20 minutes?
Yeah, no, definitely.
I mean, not in 20 minutes. I mean, you probably spent another 10 minutes listing it.
Yeah, taking some pictures, and yeah, it was worth it. Now, a part of the researching, I think there's 2 elements of researching that we can talk about. The first element is researching out in the field, right? Like, is this item something that's going to make me money? Is it worth buying? Does it work?
And were you okay, like, pulling out your cell phone in front of...
That was...
Did you, like, go hide in a corner?
At the garage sale? Yeah, that's a little awkward. In fact, I actually had one this last weekend when I went garage selling where I was looking at a pair of boots, and I was doing that. I was looking them up on my phone, and the lady was, like, standing over my shoulder, like, trying to watch me. So I'm trying to, like, walk around and look at other items and, like, look up this. And she's, like, watching me. And so I'm a little nervous about this. Like, okay, like, I'm going to try and offer low on these. And she wouldn't budge, right? She is, like, $40 for the boots. And I'm like, oh, I
Now, did
was
she see what they were going for on eBay?
no, she didn't. She
Okay.
was like she could tell I was looking stuff up, and these were the item of all the things I was researching. These are the ones that had profit. So she could tell I was kind of looking stuff up, and I was able to talk her down to 15, which was
Wow.
pretty
So
good
she went from I'm not budging on 40 to 15.
to 15. Yeah.
How'd you get to that place?
A little bit of just
Did you give her a wink or something,
no,
or
there was
like?
not. It started off with two pairs of boots because there were two of them. One of them was much nicer condition. She wanted 40 each, so I put them both down. I was like, oh, okay, well, and so I started looking at other items. And I was like, "Well, I was gonna give you like, how about I was gonna give you 20 for both pairs." And she's like, "No way, like, they're not worth they're worth way more than that. You know they're worth more than that." And I was like, "Oh." I was like, "Well, how about 15 for one?" And just after a couple back and forth, she was like, "Okay, I'll take that." So it ended up working out, and she even made this comment as I was walking away. She goes, "If you sell those for $100, I'm gonna be mad." And I just kinda chuckled, and, I did sell them, not for 100, I think I got 85, so,
So I don't
she won't
understand.
be mad.
Were you gonna like drive by her house after and go, "Look what I sold for
Look at
how
my money.
much?"
Yeah, no, but I think that's part of it too is not everybody wants to go through the process of listing something, on eBay, and I think you probably have ran into that before out and about where somebody says, "Well, I'll just sell it online." And chances are if they're having a garage sale that they're gonna list the items that don't sell online, it's probably pretty low. So I think most people are gonna be reasonable and say like, "Okay, I'll take half what I was wanting for this because I know I'm not gonna sell it any other way."
So why was research an important part though in that negotiation?
Well, I mean, one of the big parts is I know nothing about any brands, right? Like I know a few brands, like the really, really popular ones, but through talking to you, through looking up a few things, which I know this isn't one of our update episodes, but I'll just throw out there as a quick bolo. Red Wing shoes and boots. If
No,
you see
they're
that
definitely
brand,
money.
there's money there.
Pick them
So
up, even if they're scuffed. Pick them up.
yeah, so that was where the research went. Before I went garage selling that weekend, I had, looked up like different brands, things that were selling. So I'd, type in shoes on eBay and see which ones were selling for the highest price
And you
and
did this before you went out garage
before I went out.
selling.
So I was like, okay,
Wow.
you know, um, and I might be mispronouncing some of these. So I was like, okay, Cole Haan, okay, that's a brand that, there's some money there. The Red Wing, there's some money there. So I looked at a few brands that I kind of had in the back of my mind to look at before I even went out.
It's interesting you say that. There's actually a reseller I've followed for the last few years, and I know initially he was spending like every morning he would spend about with his coffees 15 minutes checking sold and would filter it out to highest price on whatever item just so he can extend his knowledge base.
Mm.
And you kind of did some of that, and that ended up helping you out. Right? So that's one way of researching that is very valuable, right? And that's easy. I mean, eBay makes that information available for you. You go to solds, you can do this on your desktop, on your laptop, on your phone. You could put highest price, you could put lowest price. Sometimes it's also important to check most recent,
Mm.
all right. And so, and the reason I say that is because if you put highest price, something might have sold for a lot of money,
Mm.
right? So, this has happened to me at times where I find, let's say, a certain shirt, right? Let's say it's a Harley shirt or something, and I find that somebody has sold this Harley shirt for $100. I'm like, wow, I can make $100, right? But if I look at it again, I check most recent there's been another 15, 20 pairs that sold for only $30.
And one of the things I think you also have to look at, and I didn't even really think to do this, except for when me and you were at the thrift store and I found that skin caliper, you had mentioned to me, I said, "Oh, some of these
This is
are
from
selling."
episode 1.
Episode 1. If you
Okay.
haven't listened to episode 1, you gotta go back and check it
Okay,
out.
back to your story.
So, um, I see this skin caliper and I see that I'm like, "Hey, Orlando, some of these are selling for like, almost $200." And one of the things you told me to check was check to see if how many are currently listed, right? Because I think that's important to look at too, not just what they've sold for in the past, but if let's say they've sold for, whatever price, $100, and then you look at what's listed now and you see that there's 50 of that same item listed at $35, well, chances are you're not going to be selling that item for $100 anytime soon, right?
True.
Because it's a flooded market. So not only looking at sold listings, but kind of looking at the unsold to see how many are currently listed and about what are they selling for.
True, and you don't know, like, going back to the Harley shirt that sold for 100 and all the others sold for 30, that could have been the first time that shirt appeared on eBay for a long time. There are, things out there that are not free that you can pay, subscription for, like Terapeak and WorthPoint that can give you data that goes past 90 days. So, those of you that are veterans, you know that eBay only goes back to 90 days. But, at times, you may see something that's sold for a lot, and the reason it's sold for a lot is because at that point in time, that person needed it right away,
Mm.
and whatever they found, they said, "Hey, I'll pay whatever money." And so you have to make sure you do the research because you may have even end up with a bad buy. You never know. So let me share with you a little story about you talked about, check how many are being sold and what's out there. So it's kinda interesting. I was at a thrift store and my son, who at that time was 3 years old, he always liked taking off on me, like, in thrift stores, like, all the time. And so this one time, it actually paid off. We were at a thrift store and he took off into another room, and I'm like, "Hey, where are you going?" And I chase after him, and I see this plush, this Lion King plush, and it's Simba, if you remember Lion King,
Mhm.
and is it Simba? Yeah, it was Simba, and it was going for $15. And so I went on eBay and I looked at comps and, they were selling for like, 20, $30. And I thought, well, it's selling for 15. I don't know. And then I saw some for like 50, 60. And I'm like, you know what? It's worth again. Oh, and by the way, it was half off on that color
Oh,
tag. So it's
nice, nice.
15. So it was like 750, I think.
Mm.
It's been so long. So I buy it and I could have just listed it, for 50, $60. But then I noticed that the larger Simbas from a certain era, from like I want to say the 90s. I hope that's when Lion King came out, or maybe early 2000s. I can't remember the year. It's been so long. We're selling for a lot. If they're larger, we're selling for a lot of money. So there are
Mm.
some of these, you can look these up online on eBay, that if they stretch across, they go for $400 or $500.
Wow.
So I was like, wow, like, okay. So I kept researching and I kept looking and I didn't find it anywhere.
Wow.
Like, mine was like a stand-up one, like, he was kind of like, establishing himself, like, on a cliff or something, and so I did all that research, and I thought, "You know what? No one else has this one listed anywhere, and it's around the same time frame, and I know that around the same time frame that others are going for a lot of money." And so I said, "You know what? I'm gonna throw this up," and I always throw this magic number. "I'm gonna throw this up for $1,000." I do that all the time. So if I find something that no one else is selling, but things that are comparable to the same time or very similar to the item, I'll just throw it up for $1,000 or best offer.
Okay, so you're telling me you have no idea comps on this thing, and you're actually putting 1 with 3 zeros behind it.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Well,
Okay,
actually,
that's
okay,
awesome. I mean, I should try that.
999.99 actually.
Okay.
Okay.
It sounds a little better, right?
All right. Yeah. Well,
It looks
it's
better.
not $1,000, and people have different theories about that, and that's for another time. But I do that all the time. And so I thought, why not? Right. So it paid off doing the research, and this is why. So within a couple weeks, I got an offer. I was getting like 100 or 200. So I'm like, wait, like, people are willing to pay this much for
Wow.
this item. So I thought, I'm gonna hold out because I know others around this time frame, were selling for about 500. So I held out, and it was a long tail item. I held out for 8 months, and then somebody from the UK offered me $550,
Wow.
and then they were willing to pay $120 shipping through eBay's global shipping program. You better bet I accepted that offer, and sure enough, I sold it. So, the lesson in all of this is I could have right away, done the quick flip, sold it for 50, 60. And I'm sure some reseller would have picked it up and done exactly what I did and sold it
Right.
for $500. But I took the extra time to research, and it was very much worth my time.
Nice. Now, is that something you would, recommend doing, like, on a regular basis, is to put listings for higher value than they're typically going for and then accept offers, or
It depends on the model. I mean, that's the model that's worked for me.
okay.
I've always found, auctions, unless you put it at the dollar amount you're comfortable with, like, you run a gamble with auction unless it's something like that people really want and you've seen people bid a lot on it. Like, the research should probably show that for most items, auction isn't the best way to go unless you're trying to sell it really quick.
But even for, like, the buy it now 30-day, you just kinda leave it going, you don't allow an auction. So let's say it's an
You mean
item.
with no best offer?
No, with best offer.
Okay.
Yep, so best offer, 30-day. So you've got an item like that. Would you suggest listing it higher value or a higher amount than everybody else is currently selling the item for? Like, do you think there's value to that, or should you
I
list
think there
lower than
is.
everybody
It's
else?
really weird. So I don't know. And there's other resellers that talk about this, but somehow, and here's some things you got to think about. First of all, you have to have good pictures, and you have a quality picture. So I'm a big fan of a white background. There's some people that use like a rustic background and so on. I just like the white background because it looks clean, it's
Mm,
crisp. I make sure I always take, if I can take 12 pictures, I take 12 pictures, right? Every angle I can and so on. And then I will find the highest price that it's sold for, and I'll sell it for a few dollars more,
mm,
or I'll list it for a few dollars more. And I can explain it, but I think it's about this idea of a value proposition. Like somehow people believe that if they pay more for an item, they're getting a better value,
mm,
even if it's the same item. So, and I don't know about the psychology behind it, but I have sold, and I would say most of the time I sell my items as some of the top dollar items.
mm.
Now, it's June right now, right? So if somebody offers me 50%, I may take that offer just because I'm trying to move inventory. But for the most part, I hold out. But
Right.
again, it's all about creating this pipeline.
Now I've heard you mention. I'm gonna change topic a little bit. You've mentioned June being a slow month. I haven't
And
really
I,
I haven't been experiencing that, man. I've been doing really good. Let me tell you something I sold, just, like, last week. I bought a pair. I was at a thrift store, and part of doing research too is, like, knowing where to go and what days to
maybe you
go.
don't need your phone.
Oh, I need my phone. What are you talking
Oh,
about?
that's right. We're talking about research. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Okay.
So I go into a thrift store. You gotta know, like, certain days, they have specials, right? And the special at this thrift store was all shoes $4. And so I thought, okay, like, I'm gonna go during this day, during the week to see the shoes. And they had a pair of shoes that looked strange to me to start with. And as soon as I looked at them a little, closer, I realized that they were cycling shoes.
Okay.
Okay, so they've got these cycling shoes, and it was, um, they were Specialized was the brand, and I actually ride a bicycle, and
It's
it's
pretty random brand. Specialized shoes.
well, I ride a Specialized bike, so I know that that's a
Oh, okay,
top
okay.
quality
So
bike.
I'm not a bike guy.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
okay.
I mean,
Or at
you would
least a bicycle guy.
yeah, you would think normally, like, certain brands like Trek, right? Like, that brand. Specialized if you're not in the cycling world, but I knew that that was a good brand, but I had no idea what these sold for, because the cycling shoes I wear are like $30 shoes I got on Amazon. So I looked these up, and used, they're selling for, like $200. And I'm thinking, "Oh, this is a lot of money for used shoes." Now, the shoes that I was getting were an older model that were pretty messed up, right? Like, they were scuffed, and I couldn't find any comps that were as bad as the pair of shoes that I found. Okay,
Okay.
so they were pretty scuffed, they
Yeah.
were really bad, um, but I was like, "You know what? There's other ones going around this price." So the only research I could really do was try and figure out what model it was, which I couldn't even do that. I knew it was several years old. It wasn't one of the newer models of the shoe, and I listed it, and I ended up making, well over $100 on the
Wow.
item.
And you paid how much for these?
$4.
Nice. So you'd say the research paid off,
Yeah, no,
right?
absolutely.
And I think I already bugged you about this on the side. They were carbon, right?
Carbon fiber,
And
bottom
that
shoes, yeah.
and that played a big role in how much they cost.
Yeah, and if you don't know anything about cycling shoes, like, yeah, you might not know to look for that, but going forward, if I ever see cycling shoes, again, I'll know that, oh, if there's carbon fiber bottom, it's like soles for these shoes, chances are there's money to be made in them.
Okay. So talk to me. Let's say, have you experienced where you go on eBay and you just couldn't find any comps? Did you find other ways to research? Like to find, hey, what should I list this at? Is it worth it for me to buy?
I've been pretty successful, just utilizing the eBay, app itself, finding stuff. There's been a few things that I can't find while I'm out and about at garage sales, and if it's kind of an item that I'm not sure about anyways, maybe I don't think it's gonna be a big profit. If I don't see it on eBay, I'm probably not picking it up unless it's, like, seems really special. Um, but for the most part, I found everything on eBay. I haven't had to do too much research outside of eBay, but what are some sources I could use if I do run into that?
So, for example, sometimes I run across hiking backpacks, and there's some money to be made on hiking backpacks, but you might find a backpack that is nowhere on eBay. There's no comps. There's no, you have no way. And so what I've done before is I kind of start Googling whatever words, like whatever items. So I recently came across an old JanSport hiking backpack,
Mm.
and I didn't find anything on eBay. So I went to Google and I went to Google search. And then when I searched, I still couldn't find it. So I went to Google images and I just kept, scrolling through pictures until I saw one that was like mine. And I came across one. And it took me to a store site, like an REI or something like that, and it was the backpack. And sure enough, in this research, I was able to pull all the keywords that I needed for my listing, and I saw what it was going for. Like, it was discontinued, it wasn't sold anymore, so I knew I could still sell it for good money because people like discontinued items at
Mm.
times, right? Or maybe it's that backpack that really worked out for them, or there's sentimental value, and so it was really helpful.
Mm.
Another thing I knew sometimes is, if I'm finding, items and I see the comps and I see the solds, but I'm like, wow, like, do I really want to hold on to this item for a long time?
Mm.
And so I know this is kind of weird. I know I'm gonna delve into Amazon a little bit, but I'm a fan of using the Amazon Seller app for eBay. So let me explain a little bit.
Okay, yeah. So Amazon do you have to be an Amazon seller to use that? Or
Well, yeah, you do, but you don't have to be selling on Amazon. You just have to have an Amazon account. So if you have an Amazon account already, like you're buying on Amazon, and
so like a regular Prime account will work for this?
no, it won't, but the login credentials will.
Okay.
So what you'll do is you'll download the Amazon Seller app, and then it'll ask you for your login credentials, and you'll be able to use the app.
Okay, so you don't have to like sign up for extra stuff. You just download the app if you're already signed up for Amazon.
Correct.
Wow, okay.
And there's a scanning function. And if you've come across something that, I don't know how long I'm going to have this for,
Mm.
you could just scan it. And what Amazon will do, they'll give you sales rank. Right. So for instance, toys, if they're ranked less than 100,000, they're going to sell, pretty quick. It may be a few months, but you're not going to be holding on to that item for over a year. If it's a selling rank of less than 50,000, you're going to sell it less than 6 months. If it's a
Mm.
selling rank of, within a few thousand or even the hundreds, it's going to sell pretty fast. So what you can do sometimes, if you're out and about, you had talked about in one of our podcasts, I think the first one about look out for new items. If you come
Mm.
across a new item and you're wondering if on eBay, it doesn't tell you how long it's been sitting. It'll tell
Right.
you that it's sold within 90 days, but you don't know how long.
Mm.
Well, Amazon you'll be able to tell by the rank. The lower the number in the rank, the faster it'll sell. So it's just another item to think about.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start using it. So even if you're selling on eBay, so if you're just starting out, you're like me, you're selling on eBay, you could use the Amazon seller account or Amazon seller app in order
Correct.
to kind of determine how fast it'll sell, which is really helpful. In fact, I recently just found I'm a little mad at you, Orlando, that you haven't told me this yet, and maybe it's my
But
fault that I didn't.
hey, I'm only a phone call away or
Hey,
a text away or a podcast away.
that's true. So in the search bar of eBay, there's a camera icon. I never
Oh, that's
noticed
right.
it.
We haven't talked about this.
Yeah, and so I clicked on the camera icon one time, and yeah, you can scan for barcodes, right? So those new items that you find, you can scan, and it'll show you. It'll pull the items up right away. So you're not typing in the name of this specific item and trying to search it that way. So yeah, so the Amazon seller app and the eBay camera scanner definitely saves a lot of time. If they're, oh,
Oh, sorry.
did you just sell
Yeah,
something?
I just had to take an offer on a Hawaiian shirt. So.
Nice. Well, you got to share. What would
Oh,
you
it was
make?
really, but everybody sells this. It was just your typical Rain Spooner shirt, reverse print from a while back. I paid like five. I don't remember. I've had this forever. I
Okay.
paid like $5 for it. But hey,
How much did you sell
it's
for?
June. $35.
Nice.
It's June. I got to take the offer.
Yeah. Oh,
So now I'm gonna. And so hopefully, please know I don't take low offers all the time. So if you find my store, please know I'm a big fan of 60% or plus on an offer. I'll probably take the offer.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's for
Good
another
tip.
time. But I'm a big fan of don't fight for every dollar,
Mm.
right? Sometimes you got to accept a low offer to get the algorithm to kick in and begin to get you more sales through eBay.
No,
Not saying that's true. That's more conspiracy what I'm sharing with
alright.
you.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, so I don't know anything about the algorithms, how that works for eBay, and,
Her name or his name or whatever his name is, Cassini, I think. Or maybe it's a new one. I don't know. But we'll leave that for our conspiracy episode.
gotcha. Alright. conspiracy episode. Is that a couple weeks from now? We'll throw that in there.
We'll throw that in there.
We'll see.
Let's give it a few more weeks.
All right.
Hopefully we'll have a lot more listeners by that time
Nice.
who can share us their conspiracies.
Yeah, and so if speaking of which, if you're listening to this show and you like it, you enjoy what you're hearing, you know, we're not paying for advertisement at this point to try and get our name out there. We could really use your help. Tell your friends if you're selling, you're making money on eBay, and you find what we're doing helpful. Let your friends know about Pure Hustle Podcast and use the different social media networks. Specifically, I'm really a big fan of Twitter. Send us your hustle of the week, right? Hashtag Pure
Pure
Hustle
Hustle Cast.
Cast, right? And then just hustle of the week. Tell us what you did, how much money you made, and we'd love to share that with the world. So
And you could also follow us on Insta, Pure Hustle Podcast, and Facebook, Pure Hustle Podcast, and Snapchat, Pure Hustle Cast. And we'll be uploading videos on YouTube at a certain point.
yeah, we're everywhere, ubiquitous. Just find us.
Yeah.
We're here.
Pure Hustle Podcast. Anyways, all right, let's get enough about throwing that out there. Okay, so where were we again?
Yeah, researching.
Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have taken that offer. See, but I had to make that money. All right. So, you're mad at me. Remember, you're
Yeah,
like
the
angry
scanner,
about
yep.
the scanner thing, and
I
so
wasn't really angry.
So
But
it's kind of new though. I mean, eBay, I think in the last couple of years started using it, and
Nice.
their catalog's getting better. So that's another way I would say, and they also have this image search, which I find is helpful. And Amazon does the image search.
does it work? I saw that, but I was kind of a little leery.
I haven't used it too much on eBay. I know it works on Amazon
Okay.
for the most part, but I'm pretty sure eBay is getting there. So with that image search, so just find a way. To me, research, and I know we got to wrap this up here soon, but you got to do your research. If you want to make sure that you make that money when you buy that item, right? And a lot of people say that, right? You make that money the moment you research and you know how much it's going for, and you make that hustle and you buy it at a good price, so you have a good margin of profit. It's going to take research to get there. Would you agree with that?
No, I absolutely agree. How much time? I like that you mentioned another person that spent time every morning, kind of waking up and researching items that sold. This, like doing this, what I've kind of realized, even though it's my side hustle, it's not, it's not my full time
It's not
job.
your pure hustle.
It's well, I'm a pure hustler. It's just this is one of my hustles.
Okay, I get it. All right.
So, there's different components to any job, right? Like it's not always at the garage sale. It's not always at a thrift store. It's not always taking pictures and listing items. Part of your work, I feel, every week or potentially every day, depending on how hard you're willing to hustle and how much money you want to make on this, part of that work is, listening to these types of podcasts, watching some YouTube videos, looking at things that are selling, and just learning brands. Like honestly,
Oh, huge. You know what? I feel bad that we kind of glossed over that. I've been reselling for a while, but when I first got started, I mean, the reason I was able to find things to make profit is because I watched so many hours of YouTube. I remember I would go, when I was going garage sailing, I would play a video. I wouldn't watch it while I'm driving, okay? But I would listen to it. And, people would mention certain items. YouTube's a huge place. Instagram's a huge place to find information, aside from what you're talking about. But, listen, there's been a lot of people that have been doing this for a long time. And there's a lot of good information out there that is free, that you don't even have to pay for. Now, there is some paid content out there that I think it's worth it. But that's for us to discuss another time. But I would definitely say the information that you can gain is all around you.
yeah. So do the research. Consider it part of the job, right? If you spend uh, whatever amount of time you put into it, I think you're going to get exponentially larger return, right? So if you're researching an hour a week, you're going to see an increase in your profit margins and how much money you're making. If you're researching 2 hours a week, that's one extra hour, but I think the amount of gain extra you're going to get in the items you're selling, the items you're buying is going to be more.
And make sure you're multitasking. I mean, whether that's you're listing items on eBay while you're listening, whether you're packing your items. I mean, we have the ability now, with I put on these ear pods and I'll listen to a podcast while I'm listening. It's easy.
Yeah. So so speaking of that, our next podcast next week that's going to be coming out, it's going to be one of our update podcasts. So we're going to have our bolos on there. We're going to have our hustles of the week, some things we've sold, some things we've learned. So make sure you're tuning in and you're listening to it because we might be talking about an item that you're passing every day at a thrift store or that you didn't buy at a garage sale that we could tell you about. And remember to share yours with us because the more we work together as a community, the more money there is to make, I think, for all of us.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Hey, thank you all for listening to our podcast. Make sure you're doing your research,
Do your research.
right? And to be real
Be relevant.
and be reselling.
All right, guys. Peace.
Late.